The distress call from the world of Ralveth traveled through the galaxy like a fading echo. It was not loud or strong. It was tired, weak, and full of fear. Many worlds heard it. Many worlds chose to ignore it. Ralveth was a peaceful world with soft blue skies and wide silver oceans. The people there lived quiet lives. They were not warriors. They were not explorers. They were gentle thinkers who worked with nature. For generations, they believed that the galaxy would always protect them if danger came. They believed that the great empires and the strong fleets would never let a small world fall. But now they watched their moon break apart. The moon of Ralveth had always been beautiful. It shined with a pale white glow, and the people often sat on their balconies at night just to watch it. No one ever imagined it could die. Yet deep inside the moon, something unstable had awakened. Cracks began to spread across its surface. Great pieces of stone drifted away and circled in strange patterns. Then the fragments began to fall. At first, the pieces were small. They burned in the atmosphere before hitting the ground. But the scientists of Ralveth warned their leaders that the pieces would grow larger. Soon the fragments would hit with enough force to destroy cities, and if the core of the moon shattered completely, the falling pieces could even break the planet. Liros, a young official who worked in the Planetary Council, stood in the main hall with hundreds of others as the distress signal was sent out again. Liros looked up at the ceiling screen as the message repeated. He knew every word by heart now. It asked for help. It asked for ships. It asked for anyone who could stabilize the moon or shield the planet or help them escape. It asked in the most respectful way. Ralveth always tried to speak politely. The message ended, and silence filled the hall. Everyone waited. The galaxy had many great powers. Surely someone would come. Maybe the core federations would respond. Maybe the brilliant engineers from the Spiral Union would offer machines. Maybe the armored fleets from the Outer Rim would send rescue ships. Liros tried to believe it. He tried to stay calm. But the silence made his chest tighten. Then the reply signals began to appear. The first was from the core federations. It said that the danger was too great. Their ships could not risk entering unstable gravity fields. They apologized. They wished Ralveth peace. The next was from the Spiral Union. They said their technology was advanced, but not advanced enough to survive the environment around the collapsing moon. They apologized. They wished Ralveth luck. More replies came. All polite, all careful, all refusing. Liros felt his hands shake. The other officials stared at the floor or pressed their palms together in worry. It felt like the world was shrinking around them. Hope slipped away word by word. A senior council member walked up to Liros. Her eyes looked tired. She asked him to monitor any remaining channels. He nodded, even though he felt no strength in his body. He sat at the console and tried to keep his breathing steady. Hours passed. Small moon fragments entered the atmosphere and burned above the cities. People watched them fall like strange glowing snow. Children cried. Workers stopped what they were doing and looked at the sky with fear. Back in the council hall, the screens showed nothing new. Finally, a member of the council spoke with a quiet voice. She said that they would need to begin preparing for the worst. They would try to move citizens into underground shelters. They would try to protect the most important areas. They would work until the very last moment. But she also said that the planet might not survive if the moon fully collapsed. Liros felt something break inside him. He had always believed the galaxy cared about small worlds. Now he saw how wrong he had been. Then, just as the council members began to leave the room, a soft sound echoed across the hall. It was a new signal alert. Liros looked up at the console. A new message appeared on the screen. It came from a planet at the edge of many star maps, a planet that most advanced species described in careful, uneasy tones, a planet many avoided. Earth. Lyros opened the message, expecting another polite refusal. But the words were short and direct. A human team was already preparing to travel. They said they would push through the unstable gravity field. They said they would not turn away. They said they would help. Lyros read the message twice before he believed it. He called out to the council. They hurried back to the screen. Their expressions shifted from confusion to disbelief. No one had expected this. The galaxy called Earth a dangerous place full of dangerous beings. They called humans Deathworlders, a word used for those who grew strong in harsh and hostile environments. No one ever expected Deathworlders to be the first to answer a cry for help. The council members spoke quietly among themselves. Many were afraid. They wondered why humans would come. They wondered what the humans wanted in return. They wondered if humans understood the danger. But Lyros felt something else. He felt a small spark of hope. It was the first warm thing he had felt all day. Another alert appeared. It showed a human ship entering the outer edge of the system. The ship moved with strange confidence, as if the threats around it meant nothing. Its engines burned bright as it navigated the shifting gravity around the breaking moon. Lyros whispered to himself that they were really coming. The council ordered a shuttle to bring Lyros to the human ship. They wanted a representative on board. They wanted someone calm, someone polite, someone who could speak with honesty. Lyros did not feel calm as he stepped into the shuttle, but he accepted the role. He owed it to his world. The shuttle rose through the sky, passing the falling fragments. It pushed through the atmosphere until the stars shined above him. Ralveth looked small below, like a blue marble surrounded by danger. The moon hung above, cracked and shifting, glowing in dark reds and grays. Then Lyros saw the human ship. It was larger than the Ralveth shuttle, but not as large as the great battleships he had seen in archived galaxy records. The ship looked sturdy, built not for beauty but for survival. It had marks and scars from past missions. It looked like a vessel that had fought storms before. The shuttle connected with the human ship through a docking path. Lyros stepped forward when the door opened. 3 humans waited for him inside the airlock. They stood with straight posture, calm faces, and focused eyes. Lyros studied them with curiosity. They were taller than he expected. Their suits were dark and simple, with strong lines and heavy boots. They looked like people who spent their lives walking into dangerous places without hesitation. One of them stepped forward with a steady, warm expression. She extended a hand. She introduced herself as Maria Lewis, the commander of the rescue team. Her voice was clear and steady without worry. The other 2, Daniel Brooks and Laura King, nodded in greeting. Lyros bowed slightly in return. He felt small but also strangely comforted. There was something in Maria's calmness that eased the tightness in his chest. Maria led him down the bright hallway into the main room of the ship. Screens showed the moon in detailed views. Data scrolled rapidly. The humans were already mapping the safest paths through the debris. Lyros watched as the ship shook slightly. A wave of unstable gravity rolled through it. The humans barely reacted. Lyros looked at them with shock. Ships from many other species could not survive such instability, yet the humans stood on their feet, barely swaying. Maria noticed his expression. She gave a small smile and explained that Earth was full of natural forces that shaped them. Their world taught them to adapt quickly, to stay calm during earthquakes, storms, and wild environments. She said this mission was dangerous, but not impossible. Lyros listened to her words carefully. He felt something shift inside him again. A quiet trust began to grow. Daniel pointed to the moon fragments on the screen. He explained how they would scan each piece, how they would find a way to redirect the largest ones. Laura worked beside him, adjusting tools and preparing equipment. Lyros saw how focused they were. They did not see Ralveth as a lost cause. They saw a problem to solve, a challenge to face. They did not speak with fear. They spoke with determination. For the first time since the moon began to crack, Leros allowed himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, his people would live to see another day. And all because the one world the galaxy feared had chosen to help when everyone else turned away. The human ship moved through the dangerous space around Ralveth's broken moon with steady precision. Pieces of rock floated in strange paths, pushed and pulled by gravity that shifted in ways no normal physics could predict. Every other species would have turned back. Every other crew would have panicked. But the humans acted as if the danger was normal, as if it were part of their everyday lives. Maria Lewis, the commander, stood at the front of the bridge. Her eyes never left the screens in front of her. Her hands moved calmly over the controls. Daniel Brooks and Laura King worked on scanning the moon fragments, calculating paths, and noting which pieces could be moved and which were too large. Robert Hale monitored the ship's engines, keeping them steady in the unstable field. Leros, the Ralveth official, followed behind them, still trying to understand how humans could stay so calm in such chaos. They moved differently, Leros said quietly, almost to himself. Nothing I know would allow beings to act this way. Maria glanced at him and gave a small nod. Earth is not soft. It's a dangerous place. Our people survive storms, earthquakes, wild animals, and oceans that want to drown them. We don't panic. Leros tried to imagine this. On Ralveth, storms could frighten people. Small earthquakes caused panic in cities. Even the ocean tides were respected for their danger. But humans seemed to have built their strength in danger. They had learned to see problems as things to overcome, not threats to avoid. As the ship approached the largest fragments, alarms began to flash. One of the moon pieces shifted suddenly, moving faster than expected. It was enormous, the size of a city, and it was heading straight for a Ralveth metropolis. Brace for impact, Robert said calmly, his hands steady on the engine controls. The ship shook violently, but no one fell. The humans were steady, almost as if the shaking did not exist. Leros held onto a railing to keep himself upright, his stomach twisting with fear. Maria spoke into the ship's comms. Leros, we need you to understand something. This is why we are here. No one else would come. We don't run from danger, we face it. Now, hold on and watch how we do it. The ship passed between the moon fragment and the planet below. The fragment missed the city by a few hundred meters. Leros saw the buildings sway and crumble slightly. Dust rose into the air. People ran into shelters, screaming. But the humans aboard the ship were not shaken. Their faces were calm, focused. They treated the danger like a puzzle, not a threat. Your people must think we are reckless, Daniel said quietly to Leros as he monitored the scanners. But we just have a different kind of logic. Leros did not respond. He was still staring at the screen. His world had begged the galaxy for help, and no one answered. Now, a species they feared, a species thought to be dangerous and wild, had risked themselves for the Ralveth people. Maria turned to Leros. We are not here for glory. We are here because it must be done. You need to understand that. We do what is needed, no matter the danger. Leros nodded slowly, feeling a mixture of fear and relief. These humans were strange. They were different. They were dangerous in ways he could not understand, but they were also exactly what his world needed. The team moved closer to the largest cluster of fragments. The plan was simple, though dangerous. They would land on the surface of the largest fragment, place equipment that could help redirect its path, and then retreat before it crashed into the planet. It sounded impossible to anyone from Ralveth. Maria prepared the landing craft. It was smaller than the main ship, but heavily armored and reinforced. Daniel and Laura checked the equipment one last time. Robert adjusted the engines. Leros watched the entire process, feeling a mix of awe and fear. "Ready," Maria said. "We go in fast, act fast, get out fast, no hesitation." The landing craft detached from the main ship and dove toward the fragment. The surface was jagged, shifting and glowing in parts where the moon's inner heat had cracked through. Dust and debris floated around them. Lyros could see cracks widening and closing as if the fragment was breathing. The humans moved quickly. They walked over the jagged surface as if it were solid ground. Their boots did not sink. Their hands did not shake. Daniel carried heavy equipment across cracks that Lyros would have said were too wide to cross. Laura examined each area carefully, placing small devices that would help stabilize the fragment. Maria moved between them, checking the readings, adjusting the plan, and giving clear orders without a hint of panic. Lyros spoke quietly. "How can you walk here? This is not safe. It could collapse at any moment." Maria smiled faintly. "Everything could collapse. That is why we do not hesitate. We adapt. We move. We survive. That is what Earth taught us." He watched as a sudden fissure opened beneath Laura's feet. In a normal world, she would have fallen. But Daniel reached out without warning and pulled her back just in time. Lyros felt his heart stop. The humans did not panic. They reacted, and their reactions saved lives. Hours passed as they worked. They moved across the fragment, setting charges and stabilizers. Each step was measured. Each action was precise. Lyros began to see a pattern. Humans did not move like they feared the world. They moved like they knew it could kill them, but they had already decided to survive anyway. The sun rose over Ralveth as the landing craft returned to the main ship. Dust and rock trailed behind them. Lyros stepped aboard the larger ship, his legs shaking from fear and exhaustion. Maria checked the readings. The equipment was in place. The fragment's path could now be redirected, though it would take time and careful calculation. "You did well," Maria said to Lyros. "You watched. You learned. That is all anyone can do at first." Lyros nodded, still silent. He felt his mind turning over the things he had seen. Humans were reckless, yes, but they were not cruel. They were not foolish. They were strong, adaptable, and brave in ways he could not fully understand. As the human ship moved back into orbit, other fragments continued to fall. The people of Ralveth watched from below. They could see the lights of the ship and the path of the landing craft. Slowly, fear began to turn into hope. The impossible was happening. Someone had come. Someone was acting. "Why do you do this?" Lyros asked Maria as they looked out at the fragments. "Why risk your lives for us?" Maria looked at him calmly. "Because we know what it is to be alone, to have everyone turn away. We would not let your world face that alone. We help because it is right, not because it is easy." Lyros thought about those words. The galaxy had turned its back. Every great empire had refused. Only Earth had answered. And now the humans were proving that even the most dangerous mission could be faced with courage. The night fell over Ralveth. The fragments glowed faintly in the darkness. The humans prepared for the next step. They would continue their work, carefully and without hesitation. Lyros watched them, realizing that his understanding of the galaxy had changed forever. In that quiet moment, he understood something important. Strength was not measured by technology alone, or by numbers of ships, or by shields and weapons. Strength could also be measured by courage, by willingness to act when others ran away, and by the ability to face impossible odds and still move forward. The humans were strong in every sense. They were Deathworlders, yes, but that meant they had been forged in danger. That made them capable of things others could not even imagine. Lyros turned back to the main screen. The moon fragment had shifted slightly, now moving along the path the humans had prepared. It would not hit the cities immediately. There was time, just enough time, for the humans to continue their work. He took a deep breath. The council had prepared him for disaster, but the humans had prepared him for hope. "Do not worry," Maria said quietly, as if reading his thoughts. "We will see this through. We always do." Lyros could only nod. Outside the ship, the galaxy watched silently. Some of the alien observers frowned. They had expected humans to fail. They had expected them to retreat. But the humans moved forward, steady and unafraid. Lyros realized that Ralveth would survive this night. The humans had come when no one else would, and in the darkness around the broken moon, their light burned bright. The work had only begun. But for the first time in days, Lyros felt that survival was possible. And he knew that his people were not alone, not while humans were willing to face the Death World challenges for them. The human ship floated quietly above the largest moon fragment. The fragment was jagged and moving faster now, pulled by strange gravity and internal pressure. From orbit, it looked like a burning mountain floating through space. Lyros studied the screens, watching the humans plan their next steps. He could not help but feel both fear and awe. Maria Lewis stood at the command console, scanning the moon's surface. Her team moved with precision. Daniel Brooks checked the stabilizers and the equipment for the next landing. Laura King monitored the scanners, marking weak points and cracks. Robert Hale adjusted the engines, making sure the ship could stay steady in the chaotic field. "The fragment is shifting faster than expected," Laura said quietly. "We need to act now." Maria nodded. "We land, set the charges, and get out before the path changes too much. Stay calm. Move with purpose." Lyros watched them prepare the landing craft again. The craft was reinforced, covered with heavy plating, and equipped with tools that seemed almost like magic to him. Humans had built their machines for survival, not for comfort. Every piece of equipment was practical. Every move thought through. "Are you sure this will work?" Lyros asked, though he already knew he feared the answer. Maria looked at him calmly. "It has to. We have no other choice." The landing craft detached from the ship and descended toward the fragment. The surface was rough and glowing in parts where the moon's heat escaped. Dust and stone rose around them. The fragment cracked under its own pressure, shifting unpredictably. Lyros gripped the railing, his stomach twisting as the craft bumped along the surface. Daniel and Laura jumped out first, carrying heavy equipment. Lyros followed carefully, trying not to fall into one of the widening cracks. Maria moved ahead of them, calm, confident, scanning every step before she placed her foot down. "This is insane," Lyros muttered under his breath. "No one could survive here." Maria did not answer. She kept moving, checking the readings, pointing to weak spots, and directing the team to safer ground. She was like a captain leading her crew across a battlefield. The team began placing the first set of charges. These charges were designed to push fragments of the moon in new directions, to slow its fall, and to prevent it from crashing into the cities below. Lyros watched as Daniel lifted a heavy piece of equipment and set it into a fissure. The stone under his feet shifted, but he did not fall. Humans were astonishing. "Hold it steady," Maria said. "One wrong move and it could crack further." Lyros helped where he could, though his hands shook. He was not used to this level of danger. He had never walked on a moving, burning fragment of a moon. He had never faced the threat of dying in seconds, surrounded by floating stone, but the humans moved without fear. They treated it as a task, not as a death sentence. Hours passed. Every step was careful. Every movement was measured. Lyros noticed how Daniel and Laura communicated without speaking loudly, using small gestures and nods. He realized humans had learned to trust each other completely. Every action mattered, and everyone knew their role. At one point, a fissure opened suddenly beneath Laura's feet. It was wide enough to swallow a small vehicle. Daniel reached out instantly and pulled her back to safety. Liros felt his heart jump into his throat. The humans did not panic. They reacted, and their reaction saved lives. "Earth training," Maria said quietly when Liros looked at her in disbelief. "We train for situations like this. Not everything can be predicted. Not everything can be controlled. We survive anyway." Liros nodded slowly, trying to absorb what he saw. The humans were not just brave. They were disciplined, strong, and adaptable. They understood danger in a way that Ralvethians could not. The largest fragment loomed closer to the planet. Dust and smaller debris followed its path like a cloud. If it hit the city below, thousands could die instantly. The humans had to act quickly. Maria gave orders with calm urgency. Daniel moved to the weak points and set the next charges. Laura adjusted the stabilizers. Robert watched the engines, making tiny corrections to keep the landing craft steady. Liros felt the fragment shake violently. A deep rumble ran through the surface. Dust and stone erupted from cracks like miniature volcanoes. Liros held his ground, but fear clawed at him. The humans barely reacted. They moved faster, working harder, adjusting to every change as it came. "Keep going," Maria said, her voice steady. "Almost there. One more set of charges." The final set had to be placed on the edge of a deep fissure. It was the most dangerous spot. If it collapsed while they were there, they could fall into a gap that led deep into the fragment's core. The humans moved without hesitation. Daniel carried the heavy charge across a narrow path. Laura stabilized it. Maria set the timer. Liros watched with his heart in his throat. He could not believe what he was seeing. The humans had just placed explosives on a moving, unstable moon fragment that could crush them at any moment, and they did it calmly, like it was routine work. "Done," Maria said quietly. "Let's get out." The team returned to the landing craft. Liros's legs were shaking so badly he had to hold onto the railing. The craft lifted off as the fragment shook violently beneath them. Dust and small stones followed them into space. Liros could see the cities below, trembling, waiting, hoping. Back in orbit, Maria checked the readings. The charges were armed. The path of the fragment could now be controlled. It would take careful timing and precision, but they could redirect it safely away from the planet. Liros felt a strange sense of relief, though his hands still shook. He had never seen courage like this. He had never seen determination that ignored fear entirely. He realized that the humans were not reckless. They were trained. They were built by their harsh world to face impossible danger and survive. "Why do you do this?" Liros asked again quietly. "Why risk your lives for us, for Ralveth?" Maria looked at him. "Because someone must. Because we understand what it is to be alone. We do not turn away when others are in danger. That is what makes us who we are." Liros thought about that. The galaxy had ignored his world. The greatest powers had refused to help. Only Earth had sent their people. Only humans were willing to face the Death World challenges for them. And now, he understood the truth. Humans were not afraid of danger because they had learned to survive it. They were alive because danger had shaped them. As the landing craft returned to the main ship, the humans prepared for the next stage. More fragments needed to be stabilized. More charges needed to be set. The work was not over. Liros knew this. The danger was far from gone. But for the first time, he felt hope. The humans were here. They had acted when no one else would. They had shown that the impossible could be done. They had shown that courage could exist, even in the face of death. Outside the ship, the galaxy watched in silence. Some alien observers frowned. They had believed humans would fail. They had expected them to retreat. Yet the humans moved forward, calm and determined, facing the impossible with simple focus. Liros understood that his world would survive this night. He understood that humans were not just survivors of a harsh world. They were protectors, willing to step into danger for the sake of others. The first stage of the mission was complete. The largest fragment was stabilized. The cities of Ralvet were no longer in immediate danger. The people below could breathe again, even if just for a moment. Maria looked at her team. Good work. We keep going. We finish this. No hesitation. The humans nodded. They prepared for the next landing, for the next fragment, for the next challenge. Leros felt his chest tighten with awe. He had seen bravery, strength, and intelligence combined in ways he had never imagined. For the first time in many days, he believed his people could survive. He believed that hope had a real shape. It was human-shaped, built from courage and determination. And he knew one thing for certain. The galaxy had underestimated Earth's Deathworlders. They were not just strong, they were unstoppable when it mattered most.